Excipients and IPEC, that's our topic today.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So welcome everybody to Excipient Talk, brought to you by galenIQ. I'm Michael Black, and today I'm talking to Mahmud. Hello Mahmud, how are you?
Hi, Michael. I'm doing good. Very good. Yeah.
Good,
What
great.
about you? You're also okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine today. Friday.
Happy
So,
Friday.
yeah, so please introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah. My name is Mahmud Yunis, as you mentioned already, and I'm a global technical director of Biergrund. And this is since 2005. And in this role, I'm also part of the management board of IPEC, of Biergrund in Germany. We have also plant in the US, but I'm also responsible for the technical issues there as well. In this role, I'm responsible for aligning our scientific and operational initiative with the company's broader strategic objectives, I would say, and I work closely with our marketing, sales, research and development, but also production and quality teams to drive now the innovation and strengthening the collaboration between the divisions and support efficient and sustainable growth across the organization in Germany, but also in the US, as I mentioned. A large part of my work is also about people and culture, building these strong teams, encouraging continuous learning, I would say, and creating an environment where the expertise of the employees and the innovation can develop together. I've always enjoyed working at the intersection of the strategy, but also manufacturing realities. And on the other side, but customer expectations is also a very important part of my role, and long-term industry development. And this is coming to a next role. It is alongside Biergrund, of course. I have been actively involved with IPEC Europe now for many years and served as a board member since 2015. Today, I'm also one of the board sponsors of the Pillar 4, which is knowledge sharing within the IPEC Europe's Agenda 2030 initiative. And this initiative focuses on strengthening the expertise, but also fosters education and knowledge sharing across the excipient industry. For me, these two roles complement each other perfectly. One keeps me very connected to the day-to-day reality of the industry, while the other one allows me to contribute to broader collaboration and long-term progress for the pharmaceutical excipient sector in Europe, but also globally, as I mentioned. We have not only IPEC Europe, we have IPEC Americas, Japan, India, and China as well.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for that explanation. Talking about IPEC, many people in pharma know IPEC by name, of course, but in your words, what is IPEC really there to do?
Yeah, I mean, it is very diverse, but at its core, IPEC exists to make sure excipients are properly understood, I would say. Yeah. They are properly understood, but also valued and managed through a pharmaceutical supply chain. You know it as well, like me, excipients are often underestimated. When you look at a medicine or a medicinal product, they simply would not work without them. In fact, excipients represent a majority of a composition of a medicinal product, and from my point of view, they are real enablers. Yeah? And they ensure that the stability, integrity of the API is there through the shelf life. They control the delivery and release to achieve the desired therapeutic effect, but also enhance the bioavailability of complex or poorly soluble molecules, improve the patient usability, and also enable robust, scalable, and cost-effective manufacturing, I would say. Otherwise, it would be not possible. Yeah. Excipients can come from different origins. We have mineral origins, we have plant origins, we have biochemical origins, and each bringing different functionalities and challenges, I would say. And this is not easy to handle this. And what is IPEC doing now in this role? It brings together the manufacturers, distributors, and users from the pharmaceutical industry to develop now these practical guidances, support quality and safety standards, and create a common language, I would say, between the industry and regulators. Of course, they are also important in this role. And what I appreciate most is IPEC is not only theoretical. The work done by these people who deal with these challenges, they deal every day with these challenges, and this is make IPEC more practical, I would say.
Yes, yes. So yeah, you've been active now in IPEC for many years. However, what originally motivated you to get involved at such a deep level?
Yeah, I think I've started the activities within IPEC 2006. So it's a long time ago, but originally I think I joined IPEC because I wanted to deepen my understanding of excipients and learn from people with different backgrounds and expertise across the industry. And as a new buyer, you do not know excipients very well, and it was a good opportunity to learn about excipients. And excipients are, as you know, incredibly diverse and complex, and it is essential to keep learning and stay up to date. And what kept me engaged over the years was, of course, also the opportunity to be part of a community of experts where knowledge and experience are exchanged in a practical way. Whatever the topic is, GMP expectations, supply chain challenges, formulation needs, or whatever, the discussions are always grounded in real industry experience, I would say, in IPEC. And over the time, IPEC became much more than being part of a professional association. For me, it became a place where people collaborate to move the industry forward.
Right. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So IPEC has published many well-known guidelines, but which ones do you see that have the biggest real impact in the reality of daily operations?
That is a good question. You have a lot of guidelines within IPEC, but I think the most important guideline is the IPEC PQG GMP guide, which remains one of the most influential documents in daily operations, I would say. It has become a global reference point for excipient manufacturing, but also auditing. And many companies structure entire quality systems like Biogrund does around these principles. And also Excipient, the Excipient standard, and also the GMP certification scheme of for excipients is based on this standard, on this guide from IPEC.
Right.
Beyond that, I would say there are many more guides, such as the GDP guide, which is very important for distributors, but also the excipient information package to interchange excipient information with your customers, with the pharmaceutical industry, or the quality agreement guide, which is a standard meanwhile within the industry. I think these documents have a very practical impact on the day-to-day work of both excipient suppliers, but also pharmaceutical companies. And we see this very often, we use them very often. And these guidelines help create a common understanding of responsibilities and expectation between the partners, I would say. Coming back to a quality agreement guide, this is a very good example. Instead of every company reinventing its own approaches, many parties now work from recognized templates and common principles. And this saves a lot of amount of time, reduce these back and forward discussions, and allows teams to focus more on real quality in supply chain rather than administrative negotiations, especially with lawyers and so on.
Yeah.
And for me, this is also one of the greatest strengths of IPEC, producing guides that is not only respected globally, but also makes daily operations smoother and more efficient across the industry, I would say.
Yes, yeah. So you often operate, obviously, at the interface between regulation and reality. Yeah. And so where do you see the biggest gaps between regulatory expectations and the practical feasibility?
Yeah, one of the biggest or recurring challenges is that excipients are sometimes or often viewed through the exact same lens as for finished drugs. Without fully recognizing the difference between these manufacturing environments and supply chain and market realities. Yeah? And many excipients are manufactured by companies serving several industries at the same time, such as pharmaceuticals, food, cosmetics, chemicals. And in some cases, pharmaceutical excipients may represent only a relatively small part of a manufacturer's overall portfolio. And this does not make them less important, quite the opposite, I would say. But it means the regulatory approach must properly reflect now the scientific nature and reality of this excipient sector. And what matters is, of course, ensuring patient safety as at the end, product quality, supply chain security, I would say. And this is from my point of view, most important thing. And all these requirements that are appropriate should be also scientifically justified. And excipients absolutely need strong standards and controls, but applying pharmaceutical GMP to excipients is not appropriate from my point of view. And another gap is the increasing expectations, I would say, for very detailed information and control. And at the same time, companies are under pressure regarding resilience, sustainability, and costs. And so the intention behind this regulation is usually understandable, but implementation needs to remain realistic and adapted to how excipient supply chains actually operates. And this is where IPEC again plays an important role in bridge between the regulators and industry, I would say.
Right, yeah, yeah, absolutely. So which current topics inside IPEC are keeping you personally busy right now?
Yeah, let me reflect a little bit on this, but I think a significant part of my time within IPEC Europe is linked to my role in the board and my involvement in this long-term development of the association. So as one of the sponsors of the Pillar 4, as I mentioned, knowledge sharing within the IPEC Agenda 2030 framework, I'm particularly focused on how we strengthen expertise, sharing education, and industry awareness across the excipient community. But this includes, of course, contributing to a broader strategy of association, supporting its continued development. And I think also membership growth is also an important topic, but also helping shaping educational initiatives that brings value to both members, but also to wider pharmaceutical sector, I would say. So we are working in a board on developing programs for IPEC Europe events. Most of them are known. One is the Excipient Forum. The other one is the Excipient Conference, which is in September now in Prague. A very important conference for excipient producers, but also for pharmaceutical industry. So we are working on developing these programs for IPEC Group events that encourage meaningful discussions between suppliers, users, regulators, mostly also regulators are taking part, but also other stakeholders in this time. But on the same time, there is naturally a strong focus on evolving regulatory topics affecting excipients, including co-processed excipients at the moment, very important. Talc, another topic, but also supply chain expectation. We saw the DEGEC case and increasing interaction between pharmaceutical and non-pharmaceutical regulatory frameworks. Here we have also new guides and so on. But more broadly, I think one of the key challenges for IPEC today is helping external stakeholders better understand the importance of excipients for medicines, the quality of medicines, but also the availability of these excipients nowadays, innovation and patient safety at the end, of course.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So if you could give one piece of advice to excipient suppliers engaging with IPEC, what would it be?
We have, I think at the moment, 74 members within IPEC. What I observe is, of course, the majority only participate passively. And this is, I think, not the core of IPEC itself. I would say to these members, engage actively and bring your real operational experience to the table, I would say. This is the most important thing. The value of IPEC comes from the members. It is a voluntary organization, so they should openly share expertise and challenges. And very often it is the case also for biogrown companies realize that others are facing the same issues, and these collective discussions makes the guidance practical and credible. I think take part actively. This is something that I would recommend to the excipient industry.
Right, yeah, yeah. So looking ahead now, let's say 5 years ahead, where do you see IPEC making the biggest difference?
Yeah, I think IPEC will play probably even more important role in helping regulators and wider pharmaceutical industry to better understand excipients as a strategic component in medicines and not only as a filler, as a key enabler, I would say, for pharmaceutical innovation. Modern medicines, this is also including increasingly complex formulations, biopharmaceutical products, and I think also advanced drug delivery systems, they place growing demands on excipients. Yeah, and the role of these excipients in stability, delivery performance, bioavailability, manufacturability, and also patient usability will only become more and more important in the years ahead, from my point of view.
Right.
But on the same time, the industry will continue facing more challenges around supply chain resilience, stability, sustainability, and global regulatory convergence. And this is that we see that we get some more regulations from US to Europe and from Europe to US, and interchanges from China to us and from other countries which are important in this part. So IPEC, I think, is uniquely now positioned to bring together this expertise from across the excipient supply chain and translate it to practical science-based guidances that supports innovation, but also patient safety, as we mentioned. And on the other side, I think also IPEC is interested to see the opinion of the industry, which guideline of the IPEC impacts the daily work of the people. So we have also tried to get some feedback on the guidance. What would happen, for example, if a guidance disappears? What would you do? And this is also very important for us to shape a little bit more the guidance towards the future. And so therefore, we have a lot of initiative within the IPEC to bring the association into the future.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I mean, it seems like there's going to be a lot going on in the future.
Yeah.
And I definitely know from my experience that we look at the IPEC guides in order to guide us how to do our daily business. So thank you very much for making the time to join us today. It was great speaking to you. And yeah.
Michael, thanks for the invitation. It was a good opportunity, and I think your Excipient Talk is very famous meanwhile. And so thanks a lot for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for joining. And thank you everybody for joining Excipient Talk brought to you by galenIQ, and we will see you again soon.